We will begin this meeting. We will kick off the workshop of Manvel City Council here at 5 p.m. The first item that we have on the agenda is presentation on the Camino software. So, Dan, I believe we'll turn this over to you first.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I'll just get it started. So this Camino software is something that we've talked about for a good part of the year. It's something that's really going to be a great tool, not only for the citizens, but for the staff as well. And I think we're gearing it up to where we're going to have a little presentation on our screens. Is that what they're going to be? Joes, do you want to just kind of sprinkle a little bit about what the software is going to do before we jump in with Lenise?
And
Sure.
real quick, Brooke, is there a way that we can get that shared on these screens as well? Oh, sounds good. Awesome. All right. Thank you.
So this is, and the presentation is going to cover a lot of details on it. This is a software tool that allows for citizens, developers, and even staff to get on and get a quick idea about what requirements, regulations we have, and also some of the application processes we have for the development. Right now, it's set up with certain modules like zoning, platting, commercial, new construction permit, residential permit, and things of that sort. And right now, this whole thing was, this software was put together while there was some, so this it's bothering me a little bit. Hello? Okay, it's better now. So put together when there was a little bit of transition happening in terms of our staff at development services. So the positive aspect is it's not set in stone right now, and the software has a lot of flexibility in terms of us making able to make adjustments to make it user-friendly, add new modules, change modules to optimize it for user-friendliness as well as efficiency. So what you see today would be like an initial phase. I shouldn't say initial phase. Like there would be changes that are forthcoming based on staff's application of it and the feedback we get from also citizens and developers.
So while Brooke works on that, Joe's, my understanding is the way the software is ultimately supposed to work is a citizen, business owner, developer can go in and say, I want to do this, and then they get asked questions. And then as they answer their questions, they end up working through the tree that it presents additional questions based off their answers. And ultimately at the end, it would produce for them a checklist of items for them to take into consideration, steps that they need to do. But then also it could even create something in MyGov. So that way that process is already started in MyGov and it's done automatically instead of the team having to manually enter something.
So at this point, I'm not 100% sure about that integration with MyGov, where we are at with that. We're trying our best to first make sure it's at an optimized stage in terms of providing information to the staff, and as a part of making improvements, we'll be working on that.
Awesome. And this has been tested so far internally by the team. You guys have gone through a few rounds of feedback and user acceptance testing, and it's at the point where you want to show it to us. And then the next round of testing is going to be getting some community stakeholders to go through the process as well.
That is correct.
Okay.
That is correct.
One other quick thing, I guess, while we're kind of stalling here. So this kind of stems back from the idea. Part of it was, hey, we would love to have a flow chart. Somebody wants to develop a pole barn on their property, or somebody wants to rezone their property into, to have an auto zone there, or whatever the thing may be. And so the idea is a flow chart is one piece of paper is darn near impossible because of all of the different codes and regulations. So like Joe's mentioned, so this will, you can do it by your address, you can do it by your parcel ID, and then go through, hey, it's going to tie into our GIS, and here's our zoning, here's our floodplain designation. It's going to help you through all that process and what things might need to be changed. And then ultimately, once it's all said and done, then they have a report that they can walk away with. And so we're going to use these even in the pre-development meetings so that they've got a printout. And, it may be 8 or 10 pages, but here are all of the different things, that you need to know. Here are the permitted uses for this particular zone of where you're at right now. We're good?
Okay, great. I'm going to hop on camera just for a second, but I have the go-ahead that you all see my slide, but hi, everyone. My name is Lanice Centennial. I am a business analyst with Clarity Software, and specifically I'm working with the city of Manvel as their implementation manager for the permit guide. So I'm just going to first, let me actually make sure I have my second screen set up here, but really excited to just be with you all today and wanted to just give a brief project update and also highlight some of the things that we've been working on and just a couple of things that we can look forward to as we get ready to approach the launch. Let me see if I have any internet timeout issues. I may turn camera off, but here for now. Let me go ahead here. Just a quick agenda. I'll cover just a quick update on where we're at and just kind of our approach to implementation, what stage are we at currently and what's coming next. And then get into a guide demonstration. There's 2 guides that we'll demo today just to showcase some of the work that we've been doing. And then we'll get into just a couple success metrics, customer value reports that we do, and then open it up for any questions or closing thoughts there. I see Brooke typing, so I always just want to make sure that it's nothing that we need to troubleshoot. Okay, I might actually be good. Okay, great. So as we get into that, let me go ahead, just a quick overview of where we at. So our approach to implementation, it's pretty straightforward. We like to break out the process into 4 simple phases: requirements gathering, design build, training and testing, and then production review. I've made note of where we are today with the city's implementation. We are in that training and testing phase. So really that looks like we're having training sessions with the admin because one of the great things about Camino is, once you go live, if you want to make any changes to the system, you don't have to submit any kind of support requests with our team. We actually enable your staff to go ahead and make those changes. Well, of course, we're always there to support in any way needed, but we definitely like to put some of the power back into the city's hands to do that, so you're not waiting on us for anything. So we're doing a little bit of training for that, and then also testing. So right now, staff are diligently working on testing out each guide. If you're familiar with the Camino guide, you know that it provides a tailored checklist for each applicant. So what that means with testing, though, we have to try out different use cases. So that includes testing out different addresses to see if certain GIS notifications populate, respond to different questions about the project different ways, and of course, test out the different project types. So I know that staff's continuing to do that, so there's a little back and forth there, between them providing input and me managing those configurations. Right after that is actually, I would say, the quickest part of the process, production review. That's really where we're just going to start to look at any marketing materials that we want to put together. Where do we want the guide to be showcased on the city's website? We kind of give some resources to help your team out with that. And then just any small cosmetic things. So usually we'll double check the logos, make sure all of those look good everywhere on the site. And that will bring us into go live. And before I actually get deep into the actual guide and let you start to see what we've been working on, I want to highlight how we position the system today. Normally, the development process is, let's say, a resident or developer applies for a permit. They go through a review process. Maybe there's some things that are missing, and so there's some back and forth there. Finally, they go through the process, have everything reviews complete, maybe permits issued, inspections, things of that nature. What the permit guide does, it actually introduces a research phase at the beginning of this process. So in addition to providing an on-demand platform for citizens to facilitate this research, they're also getting the information that's provided to those users is tailored to that applicant and their project. So this is based on various factors such as the project type, GIS and parcel information, the scope of work. So for example, if the parcel is part of the ETJ, or if there's going to be a dumpster on site and this is a commercial property within the city of Manvel limits, we want to provide info for that. Or if trees are being removed, there's really just like, you can kind of continue to go down the list of different factors that may affect what this checklist may look like for a resident. And so that's all of the things that we have in consideration when we build this out. But that's what makes this a unique part of the process. And so as I go in and start to test some things, I want to double check that here as well. I'm going to go through it as if I was an applicant. So let me, real quick, I want to just show that, and anyone can access this through the city. City can put a URL button, or maybe you're going to use a QR code. You can create an account. And so one of the benefits of creating an account is I have this dashboard here where I can look at previous guides that I worked on and reviewed. And so that's great if, maybe I'm just getting a little bit of information and I'm nowhere ready to do, any building.
Excuse me, Lanisha.
To refer to it. I can also check things off. We'll dig into that too. There is an option in what we've implemented the city to also have a guest mode. So if you don't want to create an account, that's okay too. In this case, I will actually go to a new submission here. And so this is the navigation structure that everyone in the, to anyone that accesses the public link will have access to. And so this is going to provide you all the selections, all the different guides we have currently built. Now, because I'm an admin, you can see there's even some private ones on here. So what's really great about Camino is you can go live with configurations that are complete, but you can also still work on things in the background without disrupting the current system or needing to take any pause to implement. So currently and today what we have live, we have zoning, platting, we have some residential permits for different projects as well as commercial, special events and signs as well. One of the ones that I want to touch on is actually our zoning guide. Currently today, this is being, how we have it set up is that it's used, let's say I have a property ID or an address, and I'm just looking to get a little bit information on that parcel, whether that be what can I build on that property, am I in a flood zone, and are there going to be additional requirements? And also it covers things that I may not even as a resident think to ask. Some future modules that we're looking at is actually creating a step-by-step guide for zoning applications. But for now, I'll just, go in and do an example of a residential search here. See, I have my address. Okay, and let me zoom in here too. Let's see. And are we still having any, let me zoom in a little more. Audio issues, I just saw that note. Okay, great. Okay, thank you, Brooke. So I'm going to go ahead and you'll see here, the first thing we do is we allow, and this is for all the guides, it's a preliminary just check that they're in the city's jurisdiction. Of course, we don't want anyone getting permit information or being under the impression that they can get a permit from Manvel if they're not in the city's jurisdiction. We can search a property by the address or the property ID parcel number. Let's see, I have something on here already. Okay, great. And you'll see that I have a little piece of land here, and so it will go ahead and select it. I will preface that one of the things that we're working out at our end is we're going to get some updated data because currently the addresses are all duplicated. So we're going to go work on getting those singles. So that's why you'll see here there's like multiple addresses, but they're actually the same. Traditionally, you won't have to do that unless there's like unit numbers. So I'm going to skip through that for just a moment. But once we have the address and the system's verified that we are in the city's jurisdiction, now we can actually go ahead and access what this is called the zoning guide. We always like to give a little disclaimer that this is purely informational. They're not going to apply through Camino. And also that additional requirements may come up. We always like to put that disclaimer in there as well. But below we'll find information on permitted uses, general zoning information, as well as info on our parcel. So this is pretty much, once you get started, you're going to go ahead and get this overview here of all of the different resources that we have. So on this one, since it's a zoning lookup and it's more just like preliminary info, it's a little shorter. You can dig into the general parcel information here. And so this information is taken directly from the city's GIS. So you'll see we provided them with what their property ID would be, zone code, their zone description, as well as what their flood zone is. You know, they're within the city limits of Manvel. We've included things for drainage district, acreage. Pretty much, if you have this information on a GIS layer, we can get it on here. And we can also use it to trigger additional information as well. So we usually like to practice that any of this info may be helpful in filling out a future application or just inquiring about allowed uses. You'll see here, there's a notification that populated that's letting me know that the property that I've selected is in the LSFR district. And so we've provided some information on what that means, but we've also, provided links to the code of ordinances, what are their setbacks, things that they can be looking out for. And actually, any of this information you see, I can touch and link, and it almost feels more integrated. We can link directly to that code there. In addition, we have the permitted uses table. So we've, taken the language from the ordinance, but we've also wanted to include some additional context for someone that may be looking at this for the first time, not familiar with what a zoning or allowed uses table is. We want to let them know how this affects, like what this is, how they can use it. And so we've highlighted some areas here, how does this affect me? This is what the purpose of the permitted use table is. We've also included additional context for, what the legend means, as well as attachments you can have on any step. And again, just as a reminder for them, this is your zone code and this is your zone description. We've included that GIS data as well. There's also a step here about the flood damage prevention ordinance. And so because this is unique for every parcel, we do have the city's guide for that and their document for that listed on that step here. But we do have at the bottom of the step, same, similar. This guide is definitely heavy on GIS data. We have what their flood zone designation is. So they can see that it's AE here. And then if I'm a resident, I can look and I can follow the chart there. I can download this, I can print it out. Or I can directly, click the link here and view it that way. We have additional resources with the FEMA map as well. And so we follow a same thing also for the major thoroughfare plan. So really just overall for this, it's just the idea to get that research on a parcel. Maybe I don't have a project in mind and I just bought a piece of land and I'm excited to think about what I can build. That's really what the objective for this guide in particular is. It will also be, some of these elements are incorporated into the building projects for both residential and commercial as they apply. So we'll be able to check that out in a second here as well. I do want to share that you can actually download this as a PDF. So whether you have an account or if this is something that, let me see, I'll zoom in a little bit here. With all of our guides, you get this physical takeaway. Like in case somebody, maybe they came to the permit center and Camino was on a kiosk or they worked with a staff member and this is something that, maybe over the phone they call in. This is something that you can always share with them. So it just highlights all of the information that we covered in the guide. Let's see. And now I just want to real quickly actually go through an example for the commercial project guide. So I'm going to go ahead and just pull an address I have. See here, currently we have new construction and certificate of occupancy. We're already, like the team, we're talking about additional project types to include post-launch. There may be swimming pools or, MEP type projects and things of that nature. So we'll want to get those in there too. So for this one, I have a property ID. Let's see. And it may be the same thing. I think all of them would duplicate, but we'll be fine for now. Skip that. Okay, so with this one, since it's more project specific, we like to drill down additional information that applies to their project. So you can have, there's not really a limit on the amount of questions that you can ask here. There's a couple factors that determine what shows up on a guide, and I mentioned them earlier. That's GIS data, their answers to these questions here, and then also the project type that they selected themselves. So in this example, will there be a dumpster on site? I'm going to talk about why this question came up. Because this is tailored, this one has to do with GIS data, but I'll get into that in a second. I'm going to say yes to that. Go ahead and submit my answers there. As I get started, we always have like a welcome message and letting them know this is a general outline. Again, that disclaimer, that this is not where they're going to apply for their permit. And also, it's possible that additional requirements can come up. As we highlighted earlier, we always have like parcel information included in there as well. We let them know what district their property in, additional info. This is also neat too. We have this notification, GIS picked up that this property is in a municipality utility district. So it's letting them know that there's going to be additional requirements or restrictions based on that. And so that's actually, and then, yeah, so we have parcel for on what MUD they're a part of. So we provided that info as well. Something I also want to highlight here, you'll see this comment section flow. The way that this works is, let's say someone has a specific question about being in an MUD and what those different requirements are. They can go ahead and post a comment here, and this will actually be sent to staff in the form of an email. And staff don't need to go back into Camino to respond to that or anything. They can just go back and forth via email. And so we'll be able to track here too what specific steps may get the most questions. And that's some good data for us to see if there's any additional explanation or FAQs we can include on that step. As you get into your general requirements for this project type, we usually break it up. There's general requirements and there's actual submittal requirements. Submittal is usually just the plans that need to be submitted. Under general here, we have letting them know permit application and digital plans are required. We have a link directly to that application there. I'll go ahead and click on that as well. So that's something they can have as a takeaway as well. Asbestos requirements, there's also information related to the acknowledgement and hold harmless agreement. And I want to cover actually here, dumpster must be provided by Waste Connection. So there's a couple of things that came into this. If you notice on the last page, I selected yes, that there would be a dumpster on site. The reason why that question came up is because my property is within the Manvel city limits. And so that also matches up with the GIS data here. And so that's why that question was asked. And because I said, yes, this step populated, whereas if I were in the city Manvel limits, but I wasn't going to have a dumpster, on site, this would not populate here, just because we want to go and make sure it's as tailored as possible to what's relevant to that applicant. Let's see here. As we get into the new commercial submittal requirements, we have listing out here the set of plans that required as part of that submittal package. And this is all in getting the most accurate application the first time around. We want to include everything that needs to be in there, as well as we have what's required to be included on those plans, as well as any links. For example, here, since it has to be sealed by a structural engineer, we have a link for that to the different requirements as well. Elevation certificate, same there. TAS registration number is required. You'll see steps can either be, you can always have these buttons installed for click for more info to link to external websites as well, which is really nice to give it more of a one, stop type of shop feel, more of an integrated feel for the user. And then under next steps, usually here we like to build out some type of timeline. So I know that's something that we're talking about how we can build upon this section. For now, we have let me make sure. Okay, great. The next step would be to apply for that construction permit. So once they have all of the complete and accurate plans and the application itself, they can go ahead and this is how they'll be able to submit that. Some other things that we may want to think about is, what's the plan review process? How long does that take? What are some of the reviews that happen during that time? Just so the resident can get a timeline of that and know what to expect up front. We also have something here for building permits and inspections as well, just some information on what those required inspections will be, how to go ahead and schedule those if they're scheduled through the city, and things of that nature as well. We can always include additional resources. So here we have links to the Code of Ordinances, building code as well, and also the fee schedule. And I do want to show, let's see, on my dashboard here, from an earlier submission. Let's see if that's the right one. We can also set up notifications for this address in particular. It's in the ETJ. So we have a stop sign here letting them know that a Brazoria County permit is required. So there's a lot of these different notifications that we have set up in the system based on different project types that we can continue to build upon as well. One of the great things too, let's say there's, you might have a resident that they're not super comfortable with technology and they would rather still come to the permit center or get on the phone and call staff. Staff can, or maybe they go to a pre-development meeting, and what's really great is staff members can actually go ahead and walk through the system from, kiosk, iPad, whatever they end up using, and they can go ahead and print this out for that resident and give them something to take home with them after their conversation. So it's also a great internal tool because, ideally, I know we want to reduce the amount of calls and amount of traffic into the permit centers. That's free up staff to work on issuing those permits. But this is great for those who will, want to come in or are more comfortable with that as well. Let's see. I want to get back into here. I just want to say, and I highlighted this a little bit earlier, if you take anything away from this slide, I want to emphasize that this is a living system and can be built upon over time by the agency. So these are a couple of other use cases that we've seen customers use for Camino. Currently in Manvel, we have the building permits, we have one for special events. We have planning and zoning guides. Some additional future ones that are worth thinking about are business licensing or code enforcement. Maybe someone wants to know how to respond to a violation notice, short-term rentals. So there's really a lot of different ways that we can continue to grow how Manvel uses this system. And, even what I demoed today is not in full what you'll see in Go Live. There's even ideas that we're getting as staff continue to test on what we can continue to expand and how we can make the system even more intuitive, how we can make all the guides even more tailored. And so really been talking with the team, and we're going to be adding additional modules, zoning to commercial permits and just some others. So even guides that we create post go live. The nice thing, as I highlighted earlier too, is you can go live and still be configuring new guides in the background without disrupting the system at all. I just want to highlight some things we can look forward to, some success metrics. So this is just an overview of that. And yeah, really what we can look forward to as we prepare for launch. One, this is a 24/7 permitting resource. So it's on demand, it's self-service, and it's accessible to your applicants at any hour. One of the reports that I'll highlight in the next slide actually tracks the percent of applicants who access the Camino system outside of business hours. So that's really helpful data to see as well. Single source of the truth. So we're just ensuring that every applicant has access to consistent and a clear process to follow, which they can refer to at any time. Something that we also know is, yes, this is really helpful to, new developers or homeowners who aren't familiar with the building process, but this is also a really great internal training resource for staff. So if you hire on, let's say the city continues to grow, you hire on new permit techs, staff can actually utilize this guide as a training resource, so they can go in and learn a little bit more about the city's development process, what those requirements are, or even if they're getting, fielding any phone calls in the development center, and they can use this as a guide, as a talking guide as well. Some of our, key stats from, just taking a sum from our customers is they've seen a 30% reduction in call volume, as well as 70% less counter visits. So really residents and developers can start with the permit guide, reducing support calls to the permit center, counter visits, and this can free up staff to actually deal with issuing the permits or dealing with more complex, unique questions and scenarios that may come up. We've also found that staff report 35% faster permit issuance. And that really is like one of the biggest things, because not only are we reducing questions, but it's because the application, Camino's addressing a lot of those on the front end. So these applications that come in are more accurate and more complete. And so ultimately that, increases the efficiency of the review process and issuing those permits. And this is definitely also a win for just the customer experience. A lot of residents today expect a lot of on-demand services or intuitive technology. And so this is all in support of, Manvel's goals and aligned with that. And I do want to highlight that once the city does go live with Camino, that our customer success team will actually send out what we call monthly CVRs, customer value reports. And these reports actually provide insights on a number of metrics, including traffic to the platform, time savings, and even development trends. So this is actually some screenshot examples from the city of McKinney, Texas, just from last month alone. And so we track the amount of visitors to the platform. That's also really helpful too, to see, how visible is the link that we're currently using? Are we marketing to our residents in the best way? Is Camino easy for them to find on our website? It's really helpful to track that. And then we're able to see, this is where you can look at chat. Let me also, is that big enough? I can also zoom in a little bit too. Let's see. We can track any of those chat messages, really just that comment box, those emails. And some of these may not apply if you're just permit guide. So, another thing is this is where I talked about earlier, you can actually track the percentage of guides that were created outside of business hours. So you'll see with McKinney, 31% of guides created were outside of that, 8 to 6 time frame. And so this is great, so we can see that residents are, we're really expanding our services at the city. Trending submission types. This one's really cool to see some of the trends in development. And you can start to see, like, for example, we even track the change in the submission from the last month's report. And so you may start to see trends and, wow, a lot of people are starting to build swimming pools or a lot of ADUs, things of that nature, and be able to prepare for those. Time well spent it's probably one of my favorite. You get to see the amount of hours that staff save through the Camino guide. And we also, put it into an actual dollar amount as well. And so this info, again, is sent every month after you go live. And that'll be sent out to the development team. And it's a great way to just track the progress and just see the value that you're getting out of Camino. Okay, let's see. Okay. So just in closing, thank you for your time. I've really enjoyed working with the city. I know we have a lot of ideas, just even through testing, of how to continue to build. I can open, I don't know if I'll be able to hear you, but if anyone has questions, if not, I know Jose and Dan have my contact and could share it with the group if anything comes up. Okay.
Testing.
I
Can
don't
you
hear
hear?
anything, but I have a link here. I can go ahead and see if I can get on the live stream.
All right, well, okay, perfect. Well, thank you so much for that presentation. Staff, is there anything that you'd like to add before we open it up to council?
I think she covered pretty much what we had to say.
Okay, awesome. Council, any comments or questions? Mayor,
But I'll wait, I'll go last.
okay. Anyone else? All right, Mayor Pro Tem?
Oh, great. Joy. Okay, that was a phenomenal, I guess, demo of it. I feel like we've seen this demo maybe a year ago. Was it July of 2023? At least that's what I see in my notes. Okay, so how far behind are we from actually going live? Okay. Because I know we were set to go live June, and so now we're September.
Okay, I think I can hear you now. Yeah,
Hello.
So we are expecting to go live.
She's here. She's waiting for you, and now she's going to say.
There's a delay.
Oh, there's a delay?
So she's going to take a second, kind of like when you're on the news.
Oh,
I
interesting.
apologize, there's also a little delay on my end, so I'm going to mute the other stream. So we are anticipating, yes, to go live. I know we had some staff changes, so we wanted to accommodate that and get aligned there. But we are expecting to go live in September.
September. Okay, wonderful. Okay, and then this is a question for Dan. I'm trying to find how much we budgeted because I know we approved this budget last year for it, but yet it hasn't gone live yet. So I'm assuming that the funds that we approved has gone for the building of the software and implementation and training on it. But I still can't find, because it's not, I don't think it's listed in our budget as Camino software, or maybe Rosie. That's a question for Rosie.
That software is located under the development services budget under computer software.
Okay, so it is under computer
Yes.
software.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And has it changed from last year? And were we able to utilize everything that we allocated towards this?
Yes, ma'am, we have.
Everything? Mm-hmm. Okay, so it's at budget, it's not over budget?
It is not over budget.
Okay. All right, I would like to just compare last year's with this year's. Do you know specifically if it went up at all, or if it's the exact same amount month over month? I mean, year over year?
It's the exact same amount for the first 3 years, and then
Okay.
after that, it might change.
Then it might change. Okay, so we're locked into a 3-year agreement?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Anyone else? Okay. Hearing none, I think we're good. Thank you so much, Lanisha, for that presentation. You did a great job. It was very thorough, and we look forward to hearing about when it's live. And I know council staff has said that they would love to give us access to test it out ourselves at some point here within a demo and test environment. So I look forward to that. All right. We will now move on to the next item in our workshop, which is discussion on the fiscal year 2024-2025 budget. Dan, is there anything new
That's
to?
great. Thank you all so much for your time.
Of course, thank you. Is there anything to update us on, Dan?
Can you hear me now?
We'd like to start with the Camino presentation now.
The real presentation, right?
Is there a delay? Sorry. Sorry.
She's going to be freaking out watching the live stream.
Yeah, exactly. It is exciting. So I think, and just to wrap that one up, I think what we saw last year was the idea, and so now it's actually populated with all of our information. So before it was just a conceptual thing, and so I think obviously the staffing is kind of what held us up a little bit, but now we're back on track, and so Joe's has got she's got a one-on-one person with Joe's, and so we're going to get there much quicker now. Anyway,
Well, and I do want to say, Dan, thank you to Joe's and the team and everybody that's worked on this. I know it's been a labor of love, and I'm excited to see it come to fruition, and I know our community is going to love it as well. I hope that we see those key success metrics, but at a minimum, it's the checklist that we've talked about.
Yep.
At the end of answering all these questions, whether it's with staff or on your own, you're going to have a checklist of the things that you need to do, and so I appreciate everyone's work in getting us to this point.
Absolutely. So nothing new on the budget. Of course, we do have an action item here a little bit later tonight, and we have our public hearing as well, right? So if all goes well tonight, then what you should see is your final budget presentation, your whole document ready for you on the 16th. Obviously, Rosie and I are trying to get that to you probably the earliest part of next week, so that way you'll have the whole week. And the numbers are relatively the same. Everything, other than those couple little changes that we talked about, as far as now that we've got the franchise information in there, we've got the hot projects that we've talked about, the potential hot, just going to go ahead and put those in the budget now. Anything big else that's changed, Rosie, since August 1st? No. So we just had it on the agenda for tonight. Obviously, we also put the executive session. If Mary, if you'd like to, we can jump over to the executive session. We just wanted to keep the budget on here just in case anything jumped out since the last time that we talked about it.
No, I appreciate that, Dan. Just a quick question for the public hearing. A little confused by it. It says that there's going to be more taxes by $716,000 roughly, yet from new property added, the total amount is $890. I'm assuming the reason why it's less is because of the homestead exemption? Or what is the?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so because of what we implemented, that 10% homestead exemption, even though we're technically adding $890,000 of new revenue from new property, we're only realizing $716,000 of that because of the exemption.
That's correct.
Okay, awesome. That makes more sense. Because I looked at that, I was like, that's a little confusing, so.
Trust us, we looked at those numbers twice this year, didn't we?
Great, thank you, Rosie. Council, any comments or questions, feedback for staff? We will have a budget town hall on September 9th, and so we'll talk about that during council comments at the end, and then we'll have one last final time to ask any questions or make any changes. Hopefully no changes, but it is an opportunity to make changes on the meeting on the 16th. Okay, hearing none. Thank you, Rosie. Thank you, Dan. What we'll do now is, based off of the time, what I'll do is I'll open up the executive session. We'll head into executive session for the first one. We'll wrap that up. We'll then step out for the regular meeting. We'll get all the way through to the first item on the regular agenda, and then we'll step back into the executive session for the second one. So, Bobby, would you recommend that I read off both of them now, or would it be better just to kind of separate them and do them individually?
You can go ahead and do them individually, I think.
Okay.
And then especially when we're coming back in, that'll let everybody know exactly which one we're going back in for.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, so I would like to read off that City Council will convene into executive session pursuant to Texas Government Code, Section 551.072, deliberation regarding real property, to discuss the following: deliberate the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property. We will head into this executive session at 5:42 p.m. All right, so council will recess from executive session at 6:07 p.m. Got a full house here tonight. We will then step into the regular session to then head back into executive session here in a little bit, but we will step into the regular session at 6:07 p.m. And we have our invocation. Do we have Pastor, yes, Harold Agnew is here from New Hope Church to lead us in the invocation tonight. Thank you for being here. So yes, right up here. You got it.
If you'd all please bow with me and pray. Heavenly Father, we know in your word it calls us to lift up our elected leaders, those people who, by your will, Lord, have been put in charge of our community. And so, Lord, that's what we do here today. We lift them up. We pray for discernment as we hear different ideas and different thoughts about things, Lord. We pray for discernment, and we pray for wisdom. We pray for wisdom to be able to get past our individual wants and desires, Lord, and be just fully focused on you and what you are calling for in this community. We just thank you that we have the freedom, Lord, to live in a place like this and to be a part of the government and make our grievances known and our thoughts known. And Lord, I just pray for grace and peace and all of those things that are required for people to be of a common mind. So, Lord, just pray your hand over this whole event for the people who are coming forward to speak, the people that are deliberating, and the people that are making decisions, Lord. We just thank you for your great will in this whole process. It's in your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor. Appreciate you being here. Next, we have the inspirational reading from Councilmember Hudson.
Good evening. After evening. I have a little excerpts from a book, The 7 Spiritual Laws of Success, and reads as follows. There are many aspects to success. Material wealth is only one component. Moreover, success is a journey, not a destination. Material abundance and all its expressions happens to be one of the things that make the journey more enjoyable. But success also includes good health, energy, and enthusiasm for life, fulfilling relationships, creative freedom, emotions, and psychological stability, a sense of well-being, and a peace of mind.
Thank you, Councilman. If you'll please stand and join me in saying the pledges. First, to the U.S. flag, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. And to the Texas flag, honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Thank you, everyone. We now have 2 presentations, and the first one is a proclamation that I'm going to read for Patriot Day, which is September 11th, 2024. And the proclamation reads, whereas on September 11th, 2001, our nation was forever changed by acts of terror that claimed the lives of thousands of innocent men, women, and children in New York City, Washington, D.C., and Pennsylvania. And whereas this day has become a solemn reminder of the courage, resilience, and unity demonstrated by our citizens in the face of unimaginable tragedy, as first responders, service members, and ordinary citizens alike performed extraordinary acts of heroism and compassion. And whereas Patriot Day serves as an opportunity to honor the memories of those we lost, including the brave souls who risked and sacrificed their lives in service to others, as well as the countless families who continue to endure loss and grief. And whereas this day stands as a powerful symbol of our collective strength as a nation, reminding us of our shared commitment to protect the freedoms and liberties that define our way of life, while standing united against threats to our democracy. And whereas we acknowledge the ongoing work of our military, law enforcement, emergency responders, and community members who continue to safeguard our security, and we express our deepest gratitude for their service and dedication. And whereas On this Patriot Day, we come together as a community to reflect, remember, and reaffirm our enduring belief in the principles of freedom, justice, and equality that are the foundation of our nation. Now, therefore, I, Dan Davis, by the virtue of the authority vested in me as the mayor of the city of Manvel, Texas, do hereby proclaim September 11th, 2024 as Patriot Day in the city of Manvel, Texas, and I encourage all citizens to observe this day with appropriate ceremonies, activities, and moments of reflection in honor of those we have lost, those who serve, and the enduring strength of our great nation. Next, we have a staff recognition. And Chief, I am going to turn this one over to you. So if you, sir, can recognize this amazing individual for our police department, and then council, we are going to make her come forward and say a few words, and then we'll go around and take a photo as well. So you better prepare your speech, all right? Chief?
Well, I hope she's got prepared because I don't. Tonight we're going to recognize Michelle Vela. She's been with the police department for 15 years, with the city for 15 years. She started back in 2009. Okay, I say I did my math. Back in 2009, she started as dispatcher. When I started as police chief in 2013, she was a records clerk plus a backup dispatcher because we only had 3 dispatchers at the time. As we grew and continued to grow, I realized that I needed some extra help to keep me in line and keep things in line for me. So we promoted her to the executive assistant to the chief of police, where she has done an outstanding job with me. Everybody calls her the one that's in charge. I'm not going to argue that fact. She has earned the recognition of number 2 in the police department. That's her nickname, is number 2. So with that, she's done an outstanding job for us. She's promised me that she's not going to leave until I retire. So we'll have her at least for a few more years. So Michelle, if you want to come on up.
I don't have to speak, right? What do you want me to say?
You do. Tell us a little bit about you've been here since 2009. So
Right.
What are some of the ways that you've seen Manvel change, and what makes you most proud of our police department?
Everything. I mean, when I started, it was 1 dispatcher, 1 officer. It was long nights, I guess you could say, scary sometimes when it was just 1 officer on the street. But I've enjoyed watching the department grow. I mean, because we started with nothing to where we are now. And all I have to say is they're my second family. And so, I don't know what else to say.
Thank you for that. So council, if we'll go around to the front. Michelle, we're going to take a photo with you and the chief as well. So. All right. So we next have a few public hearings. So what I will do is I will read the public hearing. We'll then allow staff to give a presentation on that specific public hearing. And then what we will do is open it up to anybody that wishes to speak on the public hearing. I'll do first call, second call, third call. If you wish to speak, please raise your hand. Then I'll have you come forward to the front, state your name and address, and then you'll have time to address us. This is not a time for back and forth, but it's an opportunity for you to address the governing body and us to listen to your feedback on the subject of the public hearing. I do see that a few of you have signed up with speaker participation forms regarding this first public hearing. So you can feel free to raise your hand and come up during this time to speak. So for the first public hearing, it's to hear input from the public regarding an ordinance of the City of Manvel, Texas, amending ordinance number 2020-0-14 pertaining to zoning and development related provisions and requirements for Del Bello Lakes planned unit development, to authorize NAICS use code 4411 motor vehicle dealer for the commercial property generally located at the southeast corner of Highway 288 and Del Bello Boulevard, providing for the amendment of the city's official zoning map, providing for severability, and providing a penalty in an amount not to exceed $2,000 for each day of violation of any provision hereof. We will open up the public hearing at 6:18. And staff, do you have a presentation for us? Mr. Evan, thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council. This amendment to DeBello Lakes planned unit development is just to allow dealerships in the 50 acres of commercial land. Currently, it's only allowed on the north side of DeBello Boulevard, and that's where the Toyota Keating dealership is at currently. During the meeting on Monday, August 26th, the Planning and Zoning Commission tabled this item, and so we're having the public hearing, but we're not going to have an action item on this agenda. There were a lot of comments during the public hearing, during the Planning, Development, and Zoning Commission, that the applicant's going to work to address at a future meeting. I believe it's going to be the second meeting in September to look at this. Oh, good, I have my presentations here. Okay, woo. All right, so essentially the commercial area is the area in red. I've tried that again. It's the area in red on the document, and essentially that's 50 acres approximately, and then 19% of the total development. This is mostly a nice residential community with a lot of amenities, like nice amenitized detention ponds. And this is just, the only change that they're proposing in this document currently is just to allow the development of auto dealers on the south side. Oh. In terms of this, here's the language. This is what they're trying to do. Currently, like I said before, commercial property located north of DeBello Boulevard only. This would be to remove that and allow it throughout the development. This means currently, if this passes, the entirety of the 30 acres to the south could be a dealership. I know the applicant has submitted a conceptual site plan that showed more of a commercial development with a 16-acre dealership, 5 pad sites of restaurants, commercial uses, and then maybe an office in back. That's not really included in this text amendment. That's just an idea of what could happen with this amendment. I know the applicant mentioned that there's 2 people that are talking to. One wants the entire acreage of 30 acres for a dealership. The other one's looking at more like 16 acres. And the applicant is here in the audience, just for your information. Here's the conceptual site plan. And like I said before, this is just conceptual. It could be the entirety of a dealership based on how it's written currently and proposed. And lastly, looking at the existing dealerships to the north, it's just about 18 acres. The proposed dealership that we saw on that last site plan is 16 acres, and then the remaining commercial is 16.03 acres. And that includes, there's a portion to the north that's not developed for a total of 50 acres. And the language right now, I have an asterisk. Like I said before, I just want to reiterate at this point, as written, it's for the entire commercial tract, could be a car dealership. If this passes and they came in for that, that's what we'd have to approve if we approve this change. And lastly, PD and Z just table this item, and this is a public hearing to get more input for the applicant to address. Thank you.
Thank you, Evan. So next, we will do the first call for anybody that is wishing to speak on the subject of this public hearing. Do we have anybody that is wishing to speak? Yes, ma'am, you in the back with your hand raised. Yes, ma'am, if you just want to come forward and state your name and address for the record. Thank you for being here tonight.
Hi, my name is Monica Britton. I'm at 4415 Meadow Shore Lane. Last week I spoke. We didn't get a chance to actually hear from the applicant first. We just kind of gave our opinions, and then the applicant got up to speak. A lot of us residents got together on this weekend talking about what we would like to see. My concern is basically, we know it's already slated for commercial, but we want to, so we know something's coming. We can't stop that, right? And so I guess what we want you guys to do, because you make the ultimate decision, is to really keep the residents in mind. No matter what comes, we're going to be concerned with drainage. I know this gentleman did not have any plans on the conceptual plan regarding drainage. That's a huge concern. I think that you guys should make him come up with a plan before he decides to start building near us. Drainage is very important. One of the city council brought that up. And as residents, whatever comes, I think that we should have a right to have some sort of noise ordinance, not having noise at 10 and 11 o'clock during the week. Make sure that they comply with whatever the lighting laws are now. I know a lot of residents who butt up against Toyota have issues with the lighting. Will there be an easement where they can have at least 15 feet before they start building? Will there be trees to help with noise? These are the things that we're concerned about. Like I said, we can't stop anything coming, but we want you guys to really think about us and putting these terms in play for whatever that comes. And I know the gentleman spoke from Toyota, and he said that he has tried to work with the residents. That's not true. I know a lot of residents who live up against Toyota. They're hearing noise all night. They've never had a community meeting to address any of our concerns, so that's not true. So we want you guys to make sure that you keep our wants and needs in mind when you make your decision. So thank you.
Thank you, Monica. Appreciate your comments, and thank you for being here tonight. Yes, ma'am, in the back left. You want to come forward, state your name and address for the record, and thank you for being here tonight.
Hi, my name is Geneva Rivera, 5803 Dancing Oaks Court. So I guess I have a simple comment to make. Wouldn't it be more useful and helpful to us if there was like a list of ideals, of proposals for stuff that everybody talking about, so we as a community could see those ideals, get together, discuss them, and then kind of save time, because we would have already looked at what the person who's wanting to build or whatever would already have provided us that, so we could come to a consensus what we think would be better for the community and our health. That's all I'm concerned about the most, our health. Because, you know, we went through that with the gasoline station, and, you know, a lot of stuff that was really not great about that. But I'm just saying that would be really helpful if we had a list, and then we as a community could look at it. That's it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Geneva. Appreciate you being here tonight. Thank you for your comments. Is there anyone? Yes, sir. Come forward, state your name and address for the record, and thank you for being here, sir.
Thank you. My name is Dr. Melvin Shepard. I live at 5702 Dancing Oaks Court. And I just want to probably just bring up something you may have heard before. I just want to reiterate, my main concern is safety for the residents. Just coming here today, 2 cars ran stop signs right out there where we live. And my concern, I don't have children running around, but there are children in these neighborhoods. And not only that, there are pets, there are people who cross the streets. So I'm pretty sure there'll be an increase in traffic. Because if you bring in another car dealer, people are going to want to test the cars, et cetera. People will be coming in for the cars, et cetera. And so the increase in traffic, in my opinion, will not be a positive thing for our neighborhoods. I don't live in the area where you're going to build, where they're proposing to build, but those are still my neighbors. And my neighbors are concerned, I'm concerned. So I wouldn't want lights blaring through my home for the purposes of whatever reason the dealer does that. I'm sure it's for security or whatever. But my main concern is the traffic and the possible increase in traffic that could be detrimental to children getting off school buses and things like that. So that's all I wanted to add.
Thank you, Dr. Shepard. Appreciate your comments. Thank you for being here tonight, sir. Do I have anyone? Yes, ma'am. I think this is your better half back here, right? That's right.
You let me go first.
Saving the best for last. That's what I like to say.
Oh, good evening, everyone. Hi, I know I've been up here a lot, but I'm going to keep coming. I enjoy being up here with you. And my name is Dr. Pamela Hardy Shepard, and I live at 5702 Dancing Oaks Court. So I had to write mine down, and I did time myself to ensure that I got it all in. I had to take some things out. First, I want to emphasize the situation's urgency from a public health perspective and an environmental frame tonight. Living just a half a mile from Highway 288 places our community in what is known as a fence line community, where residents bear the brunt of health impacts. Our community breathes 37% more nitrogen dioxide than any other areas of harmful pollutants, cars, trucks, and heavy equipment. According to the EPA, nitrogen dioxide has serious health effects. It can reduce lung function and causes respiratory symptoms such as coughing and shortness of breath. Environmentally, it contributes to ozone formation. Ozone exposure worsens asthma, people who have asthma, lung disease such as emphysema. Given our proximity to the highway, the pollutants we are exposed to cannot be ignored. Introducing an additional car dealership into our community would only add to another environmental toxin to an already vulnerable area. The existing flight pattern that I've seen, and I tried to gather the research on it, but there are 11,869 flights that go to Hobby for the month of August alone. And that's a lot of pollutants and toxins. So the existing patterns for planes, and they don't, all of 11,000 did not come that direction, but it's based on weather, it's based on the orientation of the runway, and it's also the traffic patterns. So we've already have an increase in toxic load in our neighborhood, and adding a dealership would only compound the problem. And I'm looking at my time and I don't see it. When we consider a proposal to put a car dealership in our community, we must also consider the determinants effects would be to bring everyone's health and environment. So what I want to say, moreover, vehicle emissions aren't just a physical threat. They also impair mental function. They also are leading to behavioral changes and memory issues. Our immune systems are already vulnerable to many challenges that could be further compromised by exposure to further toxins. Community like ours, located near major roadways, often suffer the most from pollutants. This is not just a matter of personal choice. This is a collective burden that affects everyone in our community. So now is the time to rethink how we move forward, design cities, and prioritize health and our health of our planet. Allowing a car dealership into our community may seem like progress. However, the immediate and long-term cost must be addressed. We must consider the impact of our lives and choose a path leading to a healthier, more sustainable future.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it. Thank you for being here tonight. Yes. We'll go with you next, sir, and then, ma'am, we'll go with you after that. If you could just state your name and address for the record. Thank you for being here.
My name is Anthony Rivera, and I'm 5803 Dancing Oaks Court. It's more of a clarification. I just work with zoning and building code department in South Carolina. I just wanted to get a clarification of how you guys have your codes and how you lay out your districts. Usually you have like an acronym, COM for commercial, RES for residential, industrial, light industrial, and then you have numbers. My question to you is that Code 4411, is that a generic for just commercial use or just a code for utilizing, doing a motor vehicle dealership there? That's what I'd like to know so far. That's the first question I'd like to know.
So we're not able to respond to questions at this time. This is an opportunity for us to just listen to your comments. But if what you can do is if you'll stay around, then staff, we have to go back into an executive session and staff will be able to answer any questions.
And the reason being is that I'm asking this question is because don't want to get sidetracked as far as we all over here saying that you guys are going to put a motor vehicle dealership, and then this code, let's say they pull out, and this code it opens up the door for other things to come. That's why I wanted to know that, because then if we agreeing that you could go ahead and do this, but then let's say he pulls out, and then you have this open for other people to come and put anything that they want, i.e. like a gasoline station. We don't want to cross that bridge again, but you understand what I'm trying to say. And so that's what I want to know. So that cannot be answered here.
Not right now in this moment, but
Okay,
if you
no problem
talk
at all.
with staff, they'll be able to answer any
Okay,
questions.
thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Appreciate you being here. Ma'am, yes, ma'am. You could just state your name and address for the record, and thank you for being here tonight.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Good evening, members of the council, fellow residents, and community leaders. Well, thank you for the opportunity to speak today. My name is Billy Zaporteza, and I have served as an environmental investigator with the TCEQ, the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality, for 27 years. During my time with TCEQ, I have seen firsthand the impact that certain developments can have on our environment, our communities, and our health. I stand before you today to oppose the rezoning of the commercial property near our neighborhood to allow for the development of a car dealership. It is crucial to consider the profound long-term impacts this rezoning will have on the quality of life in our residential community. First and foremost, traffic and safety concerns. Car dealerships naturally bring an influx of vehicles, whether from deliveries, test drives, or customer traffic. Our residential streets were not designed to accommodate this level of traffic, and the increased volume poses a direct safety risk to children, pedestrians, and cyclists. A car dealership attracts not just vehicles, but heavy trucks transporting cars, which will lead to congestion and unsafe road conditions in an area where families live and children play. Noise pollution is another significant issue. A car dealership operates at all hours of the day and night. We can expect loudspeakers, vehicle engines, alarms, and more. Constant noise disrupting the peaceful environment we currently enjoy. Our homes should be places of rest, not where we have to deal with the everyday hustle and bustle of a commercial business of this scale. Thirdly, there's the issue of environmental impact. Car dealerships require vast expanses of asphalt for parking lots, leading to increased runoff and reduced green space. This could exacerbate flooding issues and harm the natural landscape of our community. Additionally, the constant washing and maintenance of vehicles would add chemicals to our water system, creating potential environmental hazards. Is this a risk we are prepared to take? Property values also stand to suffer. Our neighborhood is primarily residential. The introduction of a large-scale commercial enterprise like a car dealership would likely diminish the appeal of our community, driving down property values. Families looking for a quiet, safe residential area are not going to be attracted to homes adjacent to a noisy, traffic-heavy business. This is not just about aesthetics. It's about the long-term financial investment we've all made in our homes. Finally, we need to ask ourselves what kind of community we want to build. A car dealership does not align with the character of our neighborhood. We have worked hard to create a community that is safe, peaceful, and family-friendly. Allowing a dealership in our backyard undermines these values and sets a precedent for further commercial development that could continue to erode the integrity of our residential areas. We're not saying we oppose development or growth, but it must be thoughtful, and it must respect the character of the neighborhoods it impacts. A car dealership simply does not belong near homes, parks, and schools. As someone with extensive experience in environmental investigation, I can confidently say that this development poses significant risk that far outweigh any potential benefits. In closing, I ask the Council to carefully consider the long-term consequences of this rezoning. Our neighborhood deserves to be protected from the noise, traffic, environmental, and financial impacts a car dealership would bring. Please vote to preserve the character and safety of our community. Thank you.
Thank you. What was your address for the record as well?
Oh, I forgot that. 5706 Dancing Oaks Court.
Great. Thank you so much. I appreciate you being here. Do we have anybody else that is wishing to speak on the subject of this public hearing? We'll do the second call and the third call. Okay, we will close this public hearing at 6:37 p.m. Because the agenda item was tabled by PD&Z. It is not on our agenda tonight. It will be on the next PD&Z agenda. At that point, they could either choose to make a recommendation to City Council or table it again. Is that correct?
That is correct.
That's correct. Okay, great. Thank you so much. The next public hearing that is on the agenda was canceled because the applicant requested that staff pull their application. This is regarding a gas station that wanted to go in for at County Road 58 and Rodeo Drive. It was a rezoning of the land. We do have the Rodeo Palms HOA president here. You guys can go back and watch the PD&Z meeting to hear a lot of the comments there. Because it was pulled, there's no agenda item for us. And if they wanted to go forward, they'd have to resubmit a public hearing. Is that correct?
That is correct. They have to resubmit an application to be on the table for both the Planning, Development, and Zoning Commission as well as the City Council to hold a public hearing and have taken action.
Okay. The one thing that I would like to ask from staff is if we can just make sure to let the HOA know so that way they can inform the public as soon as we know. There was a lot of feedback that we received last time, and it's a great opportunity to collaborate with the community, so that'd be appreciated. All right, so next we have another public hearing. Same thing, I'll read this one off, open it up to anybody that wishes to speak. This is to hear input from the public regarding reauthorization of building permit fees to be included in the fiscal year 2024-2025 budget adoption ordinance, reauthorizing all city fees charged as a condition of constructing, renovating, or remodeling a residential or commercial structure. We will open this public hearing at 6:39 p.m. Do I have anybody that wishes to speak on this? Or actually, is there a staff presentation for this public hearing?
Well, Mayor, just to update, new to 2024, the legislature now requires municipalities to reauthorize their building permit fees yearly. TML recommends you do it at the budget time because it does have an impact on the budget should they change, and it does require a public hearing, so we have that on, and it's going to be in conjunction with the budget process, and the budget ordinance should have something in it, a line that'll say we reauthorize the fees, typically done. So it's a new legislative requirement from House Bill 1922. Thank you, Tammy.
Great. Thank you so much, Bobby and Tammy. Do I have anybody that wishes to speak on the subject of this public hearing? We'll do the second call and the third call. Oh, yes, ma'am. You got it just in the nick of time. If you can just come forward and for the microphone, that way we can hear you, and just state your name and address for the record as well. Welcome back.
Thank you. Geneva Rivera, 5803 Dancing Oaks Court. I don't fully understand what we're being asked, so can somebody reiterate that so I can get a clear understanding? Thank you.
Yes, ma'am, absolutely. What I'll do is I'll read the subject of this public hearing, and so that way it's clear. So this is to hear input from the public regarding the reauthorization of building permit fees that are to be included in the fiscal year 24-25 budget adoption ordinance, which would reauthorize all city fees charged as consideration of constructing, renovating, or remodeling a residential or commercial structure. Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. Okay, we'll do the third call one more time. All right, hearing none, we will close this public hearing at 6:41 p.m. We will move on to the final public hearing for tonight. So this is to hear input from the public regarding comments for or against the following: the proposed annual budget for the fiscal year of October 1st, 2024 to September 30th, 2025. This budget will raise more total property taxes than last year's budget by $716,759.58, or 6.33%. And of that amount, $890,248.94 is tax revenue to be raised from new property added to the tax roll this year. Do we have a staff presentation of this item?
This is just requesting any hearings for the budget for this year, the one that were presented on August the 1st. The reason that the revenues are lower is because of the homestead deduction exemption now.
Okay. Thank you, Rosie. I appreciate that. And that explains why there's the number differential, and we talked about that in the workshop. Thank you. So we'll do the first call for anybody that wishes to speak on the subject of this public hearing. Second call. And third call. So this public hearing will close at 6:42 p.m. Next, we will go to public comments. We have two that were submitted that weren't a part of everybody that spoke for the public hearing. So we will go to the first one that was not related to the public hearing, which is from Mr. Ramji. Mr. Ramji, if you're here tonight, sir, thank you. If you could just state your name and address for the record, and then you have 3 minutes. Thank you for being here tonight. If you can introduce as well who you have with you.
Good evening. My name is Ramji Ramachandran. I live at 9819 Chapman Trail in Manvel. I'm delighted to invite you all to a charity golf event coming up. It's scheduled on September 14th, 11 days from now. And this is in honor of the spirit of 9/11 and also supporting the current relief efforts for hurricane relief. And to give more details about this, I would like to invite the person who leads the disaster management, Ms. Rashmi Singh, for the Houston chapter of Seva International.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, council members. Thank you for this opportunity and letting us speak about the relief work which we are doing. Currently, we are responding to Hurricane Beryl. We have been in this area for last 20 years, but I will talk only about Hurricane Beryl. So Hurricane Beryl, we started right after the day after the Hurricane Beryl hit us. So our work started on July 9th. I am a member of Texas Gulf Coast, like we are a member of Texas Gulf Coast, where we started our planning 4th of July. So it continued from there until date. We get a lot of calls. We are helping 4 counties in Houston, and that is Fort Bend, Harris, Montgomery, Waller. Unfortunately, I am not able to help the county I live in, which is Brazoria County, because there is absolutely no funding for Brazoria County. I am requesting you guys to support this fundraising event so we can help people in our own county, which is Brazoria County. This is specifically for Brazoria County residents. We have a lot of underserved community in Rosh Sharon and in Pearland, and even in Manvel. We typically help anyone who is a senior citizen or living in rural areas or are in lower income bracket. So that's our thing, and we would request as many people to come and attend. We have some flyers to pass over. If you like, there's a contact number over there, and I will leave some of my visiting cards if you guys want to come and talk about it. Like, you want to know more about our organization, work with us. We need volunteers all over Houston, so we definitely need volunteers as well. So thank you for this opportunity. I am very honored. Thanks.
Thank you so much. And then you have 2 other individuals that are with you, if you could introduce them.
This is Dr. Madan Luthra. He has been also an awardee of Governor's Awardee for being a best volunteer, and he is attached to MD Anderson. He's a retired person, but very active, and Seva, he's the vice president right now, so he'll speak.
Thank you, sir. If you could take about 30 seconds for us.
Just a final request. I think, Honorable Councilman and Mayor, I think we need your support so that we can serve community very well. I think you might have seen us during Harvey time with the yellow shirts. I think we have a big team and desire and inspiration to help community. Please advance us with help us. Thank you.
Thank you for being here. I appreciate that. And then just your name for us.
Hi, my name is Simran Vich. I live at 2826 Rippling Spring Court, Manvel. I'm here as their marketing intern, and I'm helping them raise sponsorship and help them with their marketing campaigns. So if you allow, I could just give you a flyer and invitation to everybody.
Yes, that would be great. And then if you have any extra, you can put them on the table right there in the back for anybody that wishes to grab one as they leave. So thank you guys so much for being here tonight. Thank you for putting on this event and raising funds, and we appreciate it. Thank you. Okay. Next, as we get these amazing marketing flyers, great job. Thank you. I will call up Miss Linda Dune. Miss Linda, thank you for being here tonight. If you could just state your name and address for the record, and then you will have 3 minutes, ma'am.
Good evening. I'm Linda Dune. I live at 6655 Cemetery Road, Old Manvel. I'm here today to support the light ordinance as written, with just a minor change. But I wanted to come forward with a rationale for making that decision. All of you know about circadian rhythms. Do you know about melatonin? Okay. So what happens in our bodies when it's exposed, when our bodies are exposed to light, when you're supposed to be sleeping with your eyes closed? What happens is our melatonin is produced, and it helps to support our hormone balance. So it is also an effective cancer preventer. So there have been a lot of studies in the literature, here's 130, that actually link this melatonin and this light exposure to the development of different cancers: diabetes, thyroid cancer, prostate cancer, and breast cancer. Most of the research is being done, however, on breast cancer cases. So what's happening in my community, and I'm sure other communities, is that houses are being built that project light onto my house and onto the street in front of my house. And so what happens is, whenever you open your eyes and you're supposed to be sleeping, it shuts off your melatonin. And that messes up your circadian rhythms, which can put you at risk for cancer. Okay? And a lot of our families have cancer. So I just wanted to come forward and support the ordinance, make sure that y'all consider the public health issues involved. I also brought some information from the National Institute of Health regarding what you can do to help to protect yourself from getting exposed to light and from affecting your melatonin. And what happens with that is we have a part in our brain, in the center of our brain, and when you close your eyes, the melatonin is produced and is balanced. If you open your eyes and there's light there, it stops the production of melatonin and thus affects your hormones. So I thank you for your attention, and I hope that this ordinance does pass. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Linda. Appreciate you being here tonight. Thank you for your comments. For everybody that spoke during the public hearing, since you did sign up through the speaker participation form, would any of you like to speak again for 3 minutes? All right, just wanted to check. So next, we will go on to the city manager update. Dan, we'll turn this over to you.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a few updates tonight. First, I wanted to start off with our animal control ordinance. As you know, we've been working on the second reading, or I should say revisions to prepare for the second reading. We're coming up on the 90-day deadline where we need to have that back in front of you. So the plan right now is to get that on the 16th agenda, the September 16th agenda. And in between the last time that council discussed it, we've received good feedback from Lorraine Hain, who's here tonight, Cynthia Cortinez, and Cindy, I want to say Geary. I'm not sure if that's how you say her last name. But anyway, we got feedback from all three of them, and we've got our animal control officers, plural, both in the audience tonight, and Captain McLean. So we don't have a presentation or anything. I just wanted to let you know, and I believe you all received all of those emails as well. They kind of put together a sort of an open letter, and then each one of them had some commentary with that as well. So without stepping on any toes, I think the biggest thing is definitions. That's one of the discussion points. And so without getting into the weeds, some of the definitions are are not even up to us, so to speak. They're state law definitions. So that's what we're trying to negotiate is which one of those, navigate, not negotiate. We're trying to navigate which of those definitions are sort of unchangeable, if you will, and then which ones we have some flexibility with so that we can, hopefully address all of the comments that we've received. Because a lot of the comments are quite good. So, Chief, is there anything that you or Captain McLean want to add to that? John, is that good?
I think you covered it.
Okay. So anyway, just wanted to let you know. So we are working on it is the moral to the
If you
story.
can introduce our newest animal control officer, I think this is her first meeting as well.
Come on up. She has on her uniform tonight. It's very exciting.
My uniform today. Hello, I'm Officer Bernard. I'm the new animal control. I'm the new animal control officer. I just started about 2.5 weeks ago. A lot of y'all know me from back in February and when I spoke the first time, and now I'm here representing the city of Manvel.
Great. Well, thank you so being here. We're happy to. Thank you for so being here. I don't know. Thank you for being here tonight. We're excited to have you. I got two things jumbled there, so
Thank you.
We're excited to get you to work. So thank you.
Thank you.
And then Dan, are there other exciting updates? Any updates that we have regarding animal control? I know there might be some other items in the works.
Well, one thing I wanted to say was I feel like this is a good coach moment because I remember whenever she came and presented several months ago after the meeting, Chief and I talked. I was like, we need to get her on our team. I don't know how, but we need to get her on our team. And then here we are. So it was a beautiful thing to come to fruition. That's okay. Can we do something about that? Just kidding. Other announcements. Your question was?
Are there anything else to update the community on regarding animal control? Anything that's happening there? I know one of the things that as soon as we have this draft ready, I would love to make sure we share it with our community partners, key stakeholders, experts, council as well. That way we have plenty of runway to collect feedback and consideration on it. But is there anything else to update us on for animal control?
Go ahead.
We've actually had some meetings and good discussions with other groups as well. They are formulating some information for us to add to the draft. As soon as we get that in there, then we'll be able to add that and we'll be able to forward a new draft, I guess you would say, of the ordinance to everybody. We're waiting on them so we can have all sides that want to participate or want to talk about it. Everybody has different ideas and different ways. So we're just waiting on another group that we had conversations with to bring that information forward.
Great. Thank you, Chief.
And the last few comments that I had, or updates, I guess I should say for you tonight. So this Saturday is our second Manvel market, the farmers market. So I guess weather permitting, hopefully we'll have good weather this weekend. So that should be very exciting this Saturday. Then next Monday, we've got PD&Z and our budget town hall immediately after the PD&Z meeting. Tuesday is ZBOA and Wednesday is MEDC. So another full week next week. That's all I have tonight, Mayor.
Great. Thank you, Dan. We now have the consent agenda. Any comments or questions, council, on the consent agenda? Hearing none, do I have a motion? We have a motion to accept from Councilman Bonner. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
I have a second from Councilman Hudson. All those in favor? All those opposed, motion passes unanimously 6-0. And one thing I did fail to mention at the beginning, and when we did the call to orders, we do have one council member that's absent tonight, David Lands, but the rest are present. Okay, no items removed from the consent agenda. So what we will do now is we will step back into the executive session. I'm going to read out the executive session that we are stepping into, and then we'll head back there, Dan, with whoever you need to join us in the executive session. City Council will convene into executive session pursuant to Texas Government Code Section 551.071, consultation with attorney to discuss the following: pending or contemplated litigation, a settlement offer of a manner in which the duty of the attorney requires it. Freddie Douglas v. City of Manvel, Texas et al., case number 324-CV-00244. John Marks v. City of Manvel, Texas et al., case number 324-CV-00243. And we will step back into executive session at 6:56 p.m. All right, council will reconvene from executive session at 8:18 p.m. and step back into the regular agenda. Hopefully Tammy and Alyssa are happy with the time that I tracked. Hopefully that helps out there a little bit. So the first item on the regular agenda is consideration and possible action to schedule the adoption date for the fiscal year 2024-2025 budget for September 16th, 2024. Tammy?
So the government code requires that we have a public hearing on the budget. It also requires that after that public hearing, there has to be some action taken on the budget. So it doesn't say what that action is. So it doesn't have to be adoption, but there has to be some action. So the action that we have is setting the adoption date for the budget, which is going to be the 16th, the same date that you will adopt, hopefully, the budget and the tax rate.
Sounds good. Thanks, Tammy. Do I have any council comments or questions? Do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion.
What is your motion for what date?
September 16th,
Okay,
2024.
we have a motion to schedule the adoption date for the budget for September 16th. Do I have a second? We have a second from Councilman Bonner. All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion passes unanimously 6-0. Agenda item number 2, consideration and possible action to approve a commercial buyer-tenant representation agreement between the City of Manvel and Boatman Realty, David Smith, and authorize the city manager to execute the agreement. Bobby, we'll turn this one over to you to explain why this is on the agenda.
Well, there have been some changes in the realtor relationship, industry, which is going to require buyers to have a buyer's agent in writing before somebody could show you a property, and some other small changes. I asked David Smith if it required any revisions to our current agreement with him. He said, yes, I will send you the latest version, and if you'd have council approve it, that would be great. So that's what's before you here.
All right, thank you, Bobby. Any comments or questions? Oh, did you have something, Tammy, or were you just moving your hair? No. Just moving your hair, okay. Just flipping the hair. Any comments or questions from council? Hearing none, do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
We have a motion from Councilman Oplager. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
We have a second from Councilman Hudson. All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion passes unanimously 6-0. Agenda item number 3, consideration and possible action to direct staff on land acquisition. Any information to share on that, staff, before we... None? Okay. What I'll do, council, is I'll make a motion to direct staff to work with our broker, David Smith of Boatman Realty, to pursue an acquisition of land as discussed in executive session based off of the pricing that was discussed in executive session. Do I have a second? Second from Councilman Bonner. All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion passes unanimously 6-0. Dan, we look forward to updates on how that proceeds. Agenda item number 4, consideration and possible action to approve the first of 2 readings of ordinance 2024-0-36. Chief, we'll turn this over to you.
This is one of the ordinance that council requested in one of our meetings back in July. We started working on it. I presented a draft to Bobby and Joe's, and we had some really good content that was added into this ordinance. We believe that this ordinance is one of those that will give us the teeth that we need to enforce the light trespassing laws. It also, and I can let Joe's and Bobby talk about what they added to it as well, but it's something that we needed. It's taken it out of the zoning for commercial properties, and it now applies it to the residential properties, which allows us to be able to enforce the intentional acts of other persons or persons using lights as a threat or an annoyance.
Thank you, Chief. Bobby or Joe's, do you guys have anything to add? Go ahead, Joe's.
Yeah, I think Chief covered everything. I would just quickly go over the way it's laid out. We have the purpose stated. We have listed all the definitions that we would need to understand the ordinance and interpret it accurately. We've specifically included requirements for residential properties, non-residential and multi-family properties, exemptions, enforcement, and the nuisance statements needed. We've also specified requirements of requirements and the methods of measurement of whatever the standards are provided in there, so that there's no confusion on that. That's all I would add.
Awesome. Thanks, Jose. Bobby, anything for you?
No, man, I mean, they took all my comments and pretty well did it up right. I mean, I don't know what else I can add. Is there any specific situation or application of the ordinance? I mean, it's originally designed to be for citywide or commercial and now residential, as far as light pollution in general. And we took a lot of different ordinances we looked at. I personally looked at 6, and I don't know if y'all have looked at other things to see if there's anything that we're not regulating in here that should be, because I think it's pretty thorough, but we're open. Like I said, we thought we'd workshop it, and or if you think it's good to go on first reading, we'll be happy to go with it and, you know, adjust or refine later if there's something better we can do later. But we think it's pretty well ready to go if you don't have any questions.
Awesome. Thanks, Bobby. All right, go ahead.
I was just going to say, Mayor, if I could just commend the 3 gentlemen for putting this together so quickly. You know, as soon as we realized, you know, a potential need for this ordinance, the 3 of them jumped on this immediately, which is fantastic. And we did receive 1 comment from the public. I think you've got that as well, for a suggested change in one of the definitions. So just whenever the time comes, we might want to include that if we end up making a motion tonight.
Okay, sounds good. Councilman Bonner and Mayor Pro Tem Sarmiento, I know originally you guys were the ones that brought this up on the agenda, so we'll go ladies first. Mayor Pro Tem, do you have any questions or comments?
I just want to say thank you so much for the team, the city, you guys, Bobby, Joe's, Dan, everyone that worked on this, because clearly a little late, you know, had it been done before, I think we would have avoided a lot of unnecessary situations. However, it's finally here. So thank you for acting. Thank you for doing all the, you know, all the research and everything needed to make this happen. And if we need to make changes in the future, then we can. And so that's what I'm thankful for. So just want to say thank you. You guys are rocking it.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Councilman Bonner?
Yeah, I echo Crystal's, council person, Crystal. I hate to just say Crystal, but I can't say council person or councilwoman. I don't know what to call. There we go. I'll write that down. Mayor Pro Tem. This whole thing about a light ordinance I think it could have been done a little different, probably, not just when this happened, but a long time ago, probably. So I do think it came quick, a lot quicker than I expected to see anything on this. I do have a couple of questions. Does it change at all who enforces or investigates issues with it? Does it still fall under code enforcement now, or?
No, the way it's written up, it can fall under the police officers. We actually put it under the nuisance side, where the officer can immediate cite the violator.
Good. I think that's more efficient, don't you? Yeah. Any additional costs for equipment as far as being able to read?
We are going to have to purchase some more light meters, which they're not that expensive.
No,
it's kind of like when we were having a noise ordinance issue. We had to go out and purchase some noise meters. Yeah, we're looking at
because I know the question's
$35,
going to come up sooner or later of how do we measure it? You know,
it specifically states in the ordinance how to do it and the measuring device that we need to get. So
okay,
I'm going to have one of my captains take care of that and get all that ready to go, so we can have that in all our supervisors' vehicles at least.
All right.
So when they get calls like that.
I was trying to understand. I thought I read something in it about grandfather of something. Was there a grandfathering issue on somebody that might have an existing light up, or I don't know where?
So we did include some language on the non-residential side where if we have existing non-residential uses, it's been approved, it's up there, and we didn't want anything in the ordinance to trigger something that would require them to go retrofit it. But we do have the provision that if 50% or more of whatever the development is changes, at that point, the ordinance will kick in. And any change that is...
Nothing on the residential, because there wasn't anything on residential.
That is correct, Councilman.
Okay. Good, thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Bonner, Mayor Pro Tem. So, Chief, just to walk you through a scenario, let's say there's two neighbors that are across the street from each other, and they get into a dispute. And one of the neighbors gets mad and sets up a very bright light inside his or her home in order to disturb the peace of the neighbor across the street. This ordinance would allow us to effectively handle that situation as it relates to lighting.
That's correct. One of the things about it is it gives the officers discretion, and they would have to investigate it to find out what's going on. They can either warn them about it, or they can cite them immediately for it. It's just based off the situation. One of the things I mentioned before is what we didn't want to do is create an ordinance to where every time somebody turned their porch light on and it shined in somebody's window, they were going to call us. So that's why we added the intentionally and let's see, the intent to annoy, alarm, intimidate, harass, or threaten another shall be deemed a nuisance. That's why we added that in there. But, you know, if it's in their house and they've got it, kind of like with the situation you're talking about there, in my opinion, that was an intentional act. And so with that, we could go ahead and cite them for that. So, you know, it's basically based off the discretion of the officer. If they go out there because somebody calls in and complains, like I said, because they turned the porch light on and it shines in their neighbor's windows, that wasn't an intentional act. Well, they intended to turn the light on, but not to annoy or harass or alarm them. So that's the methodology of it. That gives us that option.
Perfect. Thank you, Chief. It looks like there's a good training opportunity here once we put this into effect. And this is something that after the second reading goes into effect the very next day, or is there's a waiting period of 30 days?
No. So it has to be published, and then once it's published, it can go live. So I send it to the paper the day after it's adopted, and then it runs that following Sunday. So there's about a week gap in the time frame.
Okay, perfect. Thanks, Tammy. Yes, sir.
I hope we as a city, when we put this new ordinance out there, I think our intent is still that we would like, if somebody's bothering you with a light, the first course of action ought to be to go talk to the person. We don't want to put an ordinance out there and all of a sudden somebody goes, I ain't got to go talk to him, I just call the police. And I don't think that's our intent here. So I hope we do a little training when we put the ordinance out there to kind of explain that. We want to be a community that talks to each other, not just uses ordinance against each other.
Yeah, that's a good point. Thank you, Councilman. I agree with that wholeheartedly. Manager Dan, I know that Ms. Dune had sent a comment, possibly a change to the definition for temporary outdoor lighting. Has staff had a chance just to review that? And thank you, Ms. Dune, for sending that in. Appreciate you taking a look and going through that effort. Did staff have a chance to take a look at it? Were there any concerns, or is that something that you guys would be in support of?
I forwarded that to both gentlemen just late this afternoon, if y'all had a chance to look at it.
Well, unfortunately, I just got back from vacation. I hadn't had a chance to look at it, so I'm winging it.
Well, we do have the second reading, and so there's an opportunity between now and that reading. If you guys can take a look at it just to make sure you're good, Joes. I don't know if you've had a chance.
Yeah, I did take a look at it, and it seems that we can. But again, before the second reading, we'll make sure all of us look into it together and make sure we're not missing anything. What we can do is, instead of defining it, you put the entire definition under the exemption, so that way we can cover that.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, let us know. And does that work for you, Ms. Dune? Awesome. Thank you for your comment. Any other council comments or questions that you guys might have? All right. Mayor Pro Tem, would you like to make a motion on this item?
Absolutely. I'd like to make a motion to pass a new lighting ordinance.
Councilman Bonner, would you like to make a second? All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion passes unanimously, 6-0. Thank you, everyone, for
Thank
your
you
hard work.
guys so much for this.
We now have mayor and council comments. Do we have any? Yes, Manager Dan, you have a special announcement. Very exciting.
And I failed to bring this up when we had a whole house full of friends and family a while ago. On the front of the agenda, you will notice a little blob right here that you may have been curious what that is. That's actually a QR code. And did I say that right? QR code, right? Yep. I show my age sometimes. UPC symbol? No, QR code. And I literally asked Tammy, I think it was Friday afternoon, you know what would be neat is if somebody's sitting out in the audience and they wanted to look at the agenda packet, they could just hit a QR code. She was like, oh, man, maybe we could do that. Like 10 minutes later, it's on the agenda on the front of the page. So,
Efficiency in action.
yes. So anyway, so if you're ever sitting out in the audience and, gosh, I wish I had the agenda packet, you can literally, it'll send you right there. And I tried it just to make sure it would work. And
So we'll show them all of the information that we have to each.
yeah, just like whenever we click on the hyperlink, right? Yeah. Yeah.
We fancy. We fancy.
That's transparency.
It's our core values, transparency and accountability, good stewardship.
If you look at your card, it's
If we have, pull out the card right here. Oh, yep, check, check, check. Awesome. All right, well, council, we have a motion to adjourn from Councilman Bonner. I will gladly make a second for that. All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion passes unanimously,